excited to see everyone. Thank you for joining Inspiring Managers to be Successful Storytellers to Drive Change. I'm Kelly McNamara, Events Marketing Specialist here at StaffBase. You might see me a lot in the webinars or LinkedIn Lives, put in the chat. Great resources. So now it's a face, I guess, to the name. We do have a jam-packed session for you. Steve and Cindy are great. Few housekeeping notes. If you have any questions or you want to comment or anything, please put them in the chat function that we're using now. If we don't get to them on time in this webinar, myself, Cindy, Steve, they will be reaching out to you and we'll make sure we follow up to get your questions answered. So Steve and Cindy, let me pass the mic off to you and tell us a little bit about Crescenzo's communication.
Thanks, all right. Well, first of all, welcome everybody. Some familiar faces out there, some great old friends, some former clients, some new clients, some current clients. Thanks so much, Kelly. Yeah, this is a new. I thought I knew every single platform for presenting webinars and workshops, but this is a new one. So let's just bear with it. We're going to get through it. Kelly's going to play videos when she can. She's going to have to advance my slides.
We're good.
So if you just want to go to the next one, Kelly.
Yeah.
So Cindy and I, we travel all over the world, and we try to, we always can kind of put people into one of three groups. The people that do bad corporate communications, which are bad headlines, bad leadership communications, terrible visuals, awful writing. Just there's a lot of people doing a lot of bad stuff. Secondly, there's the people that are doing good corporate communications, which is where we at least try to get people out of the bad into the middle section, into the good. And that's where the writing is better, the headlines are better, the leadership communication is better, the visuals are better, everything's better, but it's still pretty corporate. It's still pretty boring, kind of formal, too long still. Our job as communication consultants, as workshop leaders, as conference speakers, is to try to get as many people as we can into the third section, which is the creative communications. Get the corporate out of corporate communications and replace it with creative. And we've been doing this for 27 years. I started it 27 years ago. So I'm the CEO and I'm the boss, and Cindy works for me.
Yep, that's what we tell Steve. So we feel good about himself.
Yep. Started 18 years ago. So next slide, Kelly.
Yes. Oh, there it goes. Good. So yeah, Steve, I know you mentioned, we're talking about manager and internal comms and communication. Please let us know what your three hot take trends are for this year.
Yeah, so there's three major ones. And if you go to the next slide, Kelly, the first one is that it's just gotten a lot faster. This was all mostly due to COVID, folks. It got more faster, more informal, more conversation, and more real. Gone are the days of the 10-minute corporate video, the long thumb-sucking executive letter via email. People are getting away from that, and they're becoming, because in COVID, that stuff wasn't good enough. They didn't want the button-down corporate,
that's right.
The all-seeing God that has all the answers is the CEO, and I know everything. CEOs,
because they didn't have any answers.
No, they didn't have any answers. For the first time, COVID handcuffed them. They didn't know, hey, I can tell you when we're going to come back to work. Hey, I can tell you how long this thing's going to last. Hey, I can tell you if you're going to have a job. So they had to get more transparent, more real. Now we're seeing a bit of a backslide, to be honest. But we're pushing our clients, we're pushing people in our workshops, we're pushing you to push your leaders, push your managers to keep that informal tone, that real tone, that transparent tone. Here's a couple of examples, Kelly. I just got some videos. And you think you're going to be able to play the videos, Kelly?
Yeah, let me play the videos. I'm skipping ahead, but let me go right now. You guys are in for a treat. It took us a while to get these, so they're going to be good.
It's exciting. But the deal is the bar's been set, right?
So here's the typical corporate video of old. This is if you listen to this woman, she's a nice lady.
Let's talk about our employee engagement survey. Remember that? I hope you can see that we're incorporating your feedback and everything that we do, but I also hope that you can see that it's not limited to a one-time survey.
All right, that's enough of that, Kelly. She's great. She's not reading off a script. It doesn't look like a hostage video, like somebody standing beside her with a machete saying, you better say the right things about the great Satan or we will slap your head off. No, she's talking. She's conversational, but it's 6 minutes and 44 seconds. Nobody is going to be watching on a mobile device for 6 minutes and 44 seconds or on their laptop. It's just not going to happen. So what we're seeing here is a big trend. This is not just with leaders. Like I think she's a director of HR, but managers in general. So let's look at sort of the new model that we're seeing and that we're helping our clients do. If you go to the next video, Sin.
Mm-hmm.
This is out of the UK. You have a lot of UK people on there. Could you go back one, Kelly?
Go back one.
Yeah, go back one. It should be.
Just a little so Steve, you only have the one of our guy with the end of the timer
Okay.
in the 5.
Okay. All right. What
So
does
just
matter?
set it up.
So thanks, Son. The communicators, they go into their managers' offices, frontline managers who are working with employees every day, who have the stories, they need to impart information to people. They go in there with a stopwatch and they clock it at 60 seconds, and they say, I forget this guy's name, Matt, you have 60 seconds to talk about the new branding initiative, the new HR initiative, the new whatever it is we want our managers to communicate. 60 seconds. This goes out into their mobile app. Everyone in the front line can see this on their mobile app, and they love it because it's 60 seconds. This is the very end of it when he starts freaking out because he's running out of time, which is so human and so natural and so transparent. Go ahead, Kelly.
Especially with the impact of social media. And we'll be doing that campaign on the 9th of October. I will get there. That campaign is launching on the 9th of October, but to help you get ready, and your local templates are available now on At Home. So have a look at those and get involved. I don't care that I was over.
80 seconds will do.
Now, that's what happens when the communications consultants get in there and talk to these people and say, yeah, they don't want 3 minutes from you, Matt. They don't want 4 minutes from you, Matt. They don't even want 2 minutes from you, Matt. You got a minute. And it turns out like that. It's real. It's natural. It's transparent. If you go to the next one, this is one of my favorites, Kelly. This woman named Cheryl Palmer. She is the CEO of Taylor Morrison, which is a construction company. So again, not a manager, but a leader. And all her managers follow suit with her. One of the keys to getting managers to be better communicators and to be better storytellers is when the top level people do it themselves and they change how they communicate. So Cheryl is out there with Stephanie McCarty, who is her communicator, who's a genius. She used to do a video blog that was a little longer. It was in studio and it was more formal, and it was okay. It was fine. But COVID hits. She is quarantined and she has to do Shoes Off. The name of the blog was Shoes Off with Cheryl, which I love, by the way. Great title for a corporate blog. Shoes Off with Cheryl, and all she does is use these times to update employees, bring them up to speed. So this was the first one she did. Once she got quarantined, she lost her video crew, she lost her teleprompter, she had one, she lost her green screen, she lost all the trappings of corporate video. So what'd she do? She bought a tripod, she put her iPad on it. You can see her lean forward at the beginning and start touch and press record herself. She's got no staff. And here she is just being real to employees who are scared, who are petrified about COVID. This is construction. There's still people that got to be out there working. So she's just checking in, and it's just so well done.
Team, how are you? I wasn't sure the next opportunity I'd have to film a Shoes Off with Cheryl. So I thought, why not a Shoes Off home edition? But first, let me check in with all of you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're taking care of yourselves and your families, exercising all the safety and health protocols, including safe distancing. I didn't have a real agenda for today's first edition.
Okay, Kelly, you can stop there.
Forum to share.
It's about a minute and a half, but we don't have time to show it. But I love that line. I didn't have a real agenda. Can you imagine a CEO? I'm just going to get up here and talk to you. And then she said that. And, the chat was filled. Everything was talking to her. At the end of it, she says, just remember to be your transparent selves. This is me. I got dressed up for you to do this for you today. Using my new smoker for the first time, she says. I bought it 4 years ago, which how many of that is us? Just very relatable, very real. And at the end, she says, we're all fighting a battle, a real battle, but for the same time, we're fighting it together. And she does this every week during COVID. Just fantastic. And I got one more to share with you to kind of cement this trend. And this is maybe my favorite because this is the one we did directly. The guy in the stream is a guy named Corey Shaw. We worked with him in Nebraska Medicine, and then he went and took the top job, the CEO job at UC Health Medicine in Cincinnati. And when he got there, and he brought us over from Nebraska, he brought us in. They were going through a major reorganization. They had one of the big, scary consultant firms in there. Jobs were being eliminated, roles were being changed. People that were VPs were now directors. It was a really, really rough time. We helped them set up a series of town halls to deal with it. Well, he also said, Corey, one of the rumors was that in this healthcare network, which was like 8 different major healthcare centers, Drake Hospital, which is what you see in Becky, which is one of their hospitals, The rumor was because all the leadership changed over there because of the reorg that they were going to sell Drake. So Corey, he did this 30 seconds, 45 seconds maybe, every week. He would get out there and update people on the reorg. He would answer the toughest questions. He would ask for the questions in advance. He'd take tough questions from the town halls. And all of his managers saw this. And all of his managers knew that it was okay. Corey insists on radical transparency. So we got him to go out there and film himself in front of Drake Hospital. And here's the result. I'll just play you the first 15 seconds or so. He first of all starts with good news. Go ahead. Sorry.
Good.
Hey, good morning. Just wanted to drop a note to the team and talk a little bit about the last week. It's really been quite a remarkable a week for UC Health. Number one, we had a really phenomenal survey at UCMC from the Joint Commission. Excellent outcomes. Really happy about that work. Had a chance to participate in the Ambulatory Pride Awards. Really inspiring stories from people who have been impacted by the amazing work that team does. And then wrapped up the week with our Donate Life, Raise the Flag ceremony honoring those individuals.
So he spends about 20 seconds, talking about updates from the week, which people like to hear. Then he talks about the what's happening with the reorg, and he was so honest, and he would say into his iPhone, he would say, "Listen, we're not sure yet. We are working through this. We're working with the Southside consultant who is helping us, but it's our job. We're going to fix this. We're going to be." And then he basically said this at the end of the video. He said, "Listen, here's what you have to understand," and I love this. He said, "Pre-COVID, for every dollar we brought in, we spent 97 cents, which means we could use that other 3 cents to reinvest in the hospitals and our programs and our people and our equipment and research. Since COVID, for every dollar we bring in, we're spending $1.07. We can't keep going this way." And you know what? Throughout that whole ordeal, and it was an ordeal, it was about a 4-month ordeal. We were involved heavily. He did twice monthly town halls. His ratings for his approvals at those town halls never dipped below 4.3 out of 5. And that's in one of the most hardest times to communicate. And then we set up the managers afterwards with the same talking points, and they would flow that down. And we really got through it. Morale dipped, of course, but it didn't dip all the way in the toilet. And now they're doing great. They are back on track. There's still problems, obviously, because it's healthcare. But it was those informal manager and leadership videos and those talking points and that transparency that got them through that time.
For sure. You see, what kind of company is Home Instead? Is that home care? Or is it a?
They do housing in the UK, I believe.
Yeah. Katie wanted to know how many people. Is it right around 13,000?
No, 1,300, I think.
1,300.
Yeah.
They're smaller. Yeah. Tiny place.
Yeah. So that's the first trend, and it's faster. Again, we're not waiting for a camera crew to get there. We're doing a video on a phone. It's more informal. He wasn't wearing a suit and tie. He's wearing his they're affiliated with the University of Cincinnati. He had his Bearcat jersey on, coat. More conversational. There was no script there. That wasn't a talking head hostage video, and more real. They're willing to admit that they don't know everything. So that is a huge trend. But it's up to the people on this call to make sure that happens with our managers, with our subject matter experts. So now,
and the leaders. I thought that was a really good point. If they don't see it from the top down, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it all starts with the leaders.
Yep.
It all starts with the leaders. So this one is directly tied to what we talked about in promoting this workshop, and that is communicators are finally realizing that managers are your number one tool for digging out stories and digging out people and people who are accomplishing things. The managers are the people closest to the work, but they're also the ones with email. They're also the ones that can usually jump on a Zoom call or a Teams call. They're actually a little more accessible than you think they are. Our job is to get to those managers and let them know that we are looking for stories. We're looking for stories tying people to the business goals. We're looking for stories where people are overcoming incredible challenges to get their work done. We're looking for the people who launch the new products. We're looking for the people who deal with the customers every day. And how do they do that? We have to put in, the way we tell our clients is Zoom and Teams, while some people hate it, has made our job a lot easier. Rather than trying to go across campus and sit in on a manager's meeting, we can say, hey, can I just get into that meeting? I will mute and put my video off. I just want to learn anything that comes out of it. I will run by you first. I'm just looking for stories. I'm looking for the important issues in the organization. And I may reach out to you afterwards and say, hey, that's an important issue. Do you know somebody who's doing good work on that? That becomes your story. Managers are a gold mine, but they don't know. They don't know you're looking for stories. They're doing their job. They're supposed to make their numbers. They're supposed to communicate to employees. They're getting it from leaders. They're getting it from employees. They're busy. They're squeezed. They don't have time to look for stories on their own. They need prompting. And that's what our job is, to go out to them, sit in their meetings, talk to them, get 10 minutes on their schedule for a video call to let them know that you are looking for stories. Let them know that you're looking for important stories that can help drive the company forward. And here's some examples of that. If you want to go to the next slide, Kelly. So this is sort of an older example. This is from PPL. Great people there. We did a lot of work with them. This was the old manager communications. She wants to talk about a very important, our job as communicators is to make the important interesting. And to do that, it's not easy because we deal with a lot of boring topics, like safety. Safety is boring. Well, this is utility. And this is kind of the old way of doing it. And these yellow highlights should be popping up one at a time, but we could make that work. So first of all, you got the big banner across the top, which is old school. Look, that's your headline right there. That's the primo real estate in this email. It's going to be read on a phone, most likely, or probably, maybe. And the banner is going to take up the whole phone screen. And then you get to the headline below the headline, which is they think is the headline, but the real headline is connecting the dots, which I don't know what that means. That's way too much real estate for her face. It's just too much. Then you get to the real headline, which is staying safe as we learn and grow, which is really a poster in a preschool or a middle school. I mean, staying safe as we learn and grow, that's something you see with young kids. That's not something you tell adults. Then she says, our industry is changing fast. And she goes, this is what I mean when I say these long thumb-sucking executive messages. You get all the way down to the bottom, 4 paragraphs in, and when you get to the story, which is the state of safety, 2019, and it's not good. The state is not good. Compared to 2018, our DART injuries, whatever they are, have increased significantly. In addition, we can see that our good catches are down 30%. So get rid of staying safe as we learn and grow. Get rid of the banner. Get rid of the first 3 paragraphs. Write a better headline and put the state of safety 2019. We have a lot of work to do. And then get into the real news, because people don't have time to staying safe as we learn and grow. And every year you fulfill our mission every day. And that sort of stuff is gone. People are busy. These guys are climbing poles for a living, getting their information on their phone. You think they want to read through staying safe as we learn and grow? Okay, that's old school. Here's what's really happening now. The communicators at this place, they started going to the managers. Go ahead, Kelly. They started going to the managers and they started doing stories like this. That guy right there in the blue, that's a manager. He is having his 5-minute huddle. They started going to people like him via the Zoom, via going to see him actually too. And they started saying, we want to collect stories of safety when they didn't go well and people got hurt, and it affected our performance, it affected our safety rating, it affected our efficiency because people got hurt. And they said, well, that's fine, but you can't name anybody. And the communicators normally at that point would say, okay, then we can't tell the story. That's it. These communicators said, got it. We're going to tell the stories without naming any employees. Great communications is often the result of a negotiation. So if you go ahead, Kelly, to the next one, look at this table of contents. First of all, look at that first headline. Chainsaw injury leaves lasting impact on line crew. Who the hell's not going to read about a chainsaw lopping off somebody's leg or something, for God's sakes?
Yeah.
Discovery of failed crimp prompts program improvements. Transformer fire prompts better equipment. I don't like that they kept using the verb prompts. They used it 3 times. Prompts, prompts, prompts. There's 8 million verbs in the English language. How about we use some of them and not maximize, optimize, leverage, synergize, strategize, prompts, whatever it might be. So then go to the actual story itself, Kelly. Look at how look at this. We talk a lot in my writing workshops about the importance of a fast first sentence. Look at that sentence. It starts the piece. This is storytelling that came directly from managers, because the communicators went to the manager and said, I need these stories. Look at that first sentence. A tight-knit line crew will never look at its work the same way following that unfortunate stormy winter day. Then they talk on, and again, more good writing with the next thing. It was a job that required tree clearing in addition to power restoration, and it didn't take long before they came upon a tree that brought down power lines and was blocking the road. They grabbed their saws and got to work. I always tell all my writing clients, read your stuff out loud. You'll hear the poetry. You'll hear the nice mix between long sentences and short sentences. And then look at the verb. The youngest on the crew wasted no time. He clutched a pole. He didn't grab a pole saw. He didn't take a pole saw. He clutched a pole saw and proceeded to almost take his leg off. And then it says at the end, the incident left the injured co-workers, questioning what they could have done to prevent the injury. As it turned out, the injured worker wasn't wearing his chaps. And you go to the next page. At the end of every one of these stories, you get your lessons learned. That is strategic communication. That is tapping into your managers to talk about real life stories in the organization. It could be in retail. It could be in healthcare. This happened to be a dramatic chainsaw accident, but we've got examples from healthcare where the nurses stopped something terrible from happening, and we tell those stories. Our job is to build relationships. We have to, and we got away from this before COVID because everything was done via email. Everything was done via text. Now that we have video conferencing tech capability, Zoom, Teams, whatever it is, we can go out there and establish our networks again, establish a beat. You want to have 30 managers in your beat. You want to attend 10 meetings that you didn't attend before. I mean, you could have the meeting on and the video off and the audio off, and you could be working and listening, and you might get 4 stories out of one meeting. One of our best clients, this woman, Ellen, at UC Health, actually, they set up during the transformation something they called the transformation office, which is where all the decisions were going to be made. Ellen fought tooth and nail to get into there, and she's a meeting in there every Tuesday. She's in that the TO office, they call it. That is it's all managers, not leaders, all managers doing the actual work. That provides a steady stream of content for stories of people, of sources, of quotes, all sorts of fun things.
Absolutely. And in this example, I totally love, you see that lessons learned there. This is a prime example of using your managers to really understand what do the employees need to know that's going to resonate with them from the story and pull it out to make it easy for them to see. If they don't have time to read the whole story, this is written in their language. It's written in what they recognize. It's not corporate. It's not jargon filled. But if they only get to the bottom, there it is. And managers can help you make your communications connect and make them real, really.
Yeah, when this went online, it turned into a conversation about safety instead of an article about safety. People went out there and said, my God, I've almost done that. I've almost done that. I don't want to wear my chaps. They're stupid looking. But there it is. They had a conversation about, which is great. So let's go to the next. This is the third trend, which is right on time almost, even with the tech issues.
We're good.
Managers themselves are tapping into storytelling with people closest to the work. They are starting to learn what the good stories are because the communications people at the smart companies are working with them to say, here's the kind of stories I'm looking for. Here's what I'm looking for. And if you go to this first one, it's such a great example. How many times have somebody done this? You can say it in the chat if you want to. Write a story about XYZ's 50th anniversary. So it could be like a division of the company's 50th anniversary. The old way would be, you're not supposed to, don't look at the modern way yet. That's supposed to be a build. The old way is interview the leaders, the top leaders only. Give the history of the division. Maybe if you have some then and now photos, that's always kind of a cool feature, but you often don't have those. List the accomplishments over the years of that division, and put some bad quotes from leaders in there because they're always bad quotes about how this is, really this exemplifies the synergies that we felt in a long way, and that's why we're a world-class solutions provider, and we leverage our core competencies to shift our paradigms. And blah. The modern way, skip the leaders, go down to the managers, who are the people closest to the work, and they're closest to the people closest to the work, and talk to them. Talk to people who have been in that division forever. Talk to people who have retired from that division and remembers when they started it. Talk to people who are brand new to the division. I know some people have done a why I came and why I stayed campaign, which is very popular these days because we have a hard time with recruiting. Ask your managers to give you 10 employees, put them in a focus group, talk about why you came to that division and why you stayed. We've had our clients do that. That works wonderfully. And put engaging photos of employees through time. And one of our clients who did this was W.L. Gore. If you go to the next slide now, this is what, oh no, I got 2 more slides before that. If you go back, Kelly.
Yeah.
Go back to the previous slide. This is not storytelling the old way. This is just corporate communications, listing the accomplishments, quoting the leaders. You're not telling any stories about that division. But here's the thing. If you go to the next slide, Kelly, people don't want what's on the left there.
Is this the correct one?
No child will ever ask you to read them a press release at bedtime. They want you to tell them a story. So do your customers, so do your employees, so do your clients, so does everybody. If you go to the next slide, the great Maya Angelou surmised it perfectly. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that's what storytelling is. And that's what managers can provide to you. Because if you go to the next slide, this was W.L. Gore. And pretend that all those yellow things are going to come in differently.
You don't see them.
You do not see the yellow things on them. But they did what they did. They went to the managers and they said, you're turning 50, your division. I want to talk to regular employees. I don't want to just talk to you, the leader. I want to talk to regular employees. Give me those employees. Give me those sources. Give me the people who give me a good quote. Give me the good communicators. Give me the people who are passionate about this division. And they got them. They got 5 or 6 people. The whole story was built on those people. So it's a very good headline. A breath of fresh air, which is a pun kind of because it's about this particular division of W.L. Gore keeps the air clean. A breath of fresh air, IDF, which is, I know what it is. It's industrial dry filtration. Can you imagine a more boring story about the fact that industrial dry filtration celebrated 50 years? Who cares? Celebrates 50 years of business breakthroughs. Great subhead. This year marks the milestone anniversary, not only for our enterprise, but also for one of our longest running businesses. Learn how Gore's industrial dry filtration business revolution, and that could immediately get boring. But what they did was, it's something that we teach in our writing workshops. They used a classic feature lead, what we call a people lead. We call an anecdotal lead, and it involves a person right away. Again, and it's 4 paragraphs. And if anyone wants more information on this, email me afterwards, and I'll send you the slide. But it's paragraph 1. It's usually a 1-sentence paragraph where you meet somebody. Paragraph 2, you get a little more background. Paragraph 3 is a great short quote. And then paragraph 4 is what in journalism school they call the nut graph. It's the nut of the situation. It's like what the story is really about. So if you look at the story, the first sentence is, longtime associate Chris Polizzi remembers when his children first asked him what he did for a living. That is a great first storytelling. We've all been at that situation, right? The next one is a little more information about Chris. He has spent his entire Gore career in industrial dry filtration, IDF, a business that develops membrane-based filters that captures particulate matter emitted from industrial plants. But how do you explain that line of work to young kids? That's the second paragraph. Third paragraph is a quote. I told them that I helped clean the air, Chris recalls. Fantastic. Then the nut graph. It's a simple explanation that accurately captures the business impact in the world as Gore's, and then there's the nut graph. What does this division really do? That's the last paragraph in the first column. But look over in the right column, the yellowed part. They talked to a retired associate, Ed Garbowski, recalls investigating the market opportunity in the early 70s. This guy's been there since the beginning. They got him, they got Chris. They do get one manager, and this is the guy. If you go all the way to the bottom, I don't like that subhead, by the way, stronger together. We can do better than that. But if you go to the beginning, from humble beginnings in 1973 in the U.S. Eastern Cluster, the business has grown to include hundreds of associates across regions and customers in all corners of the world. As business leader Lewis Roth notes, there is probably not a country in the world our filters haven't ended up in some way or form. That should have been your headline, your subhead, instead of stronger together. But they got a leader in there. They got like 5 employees if you kept reading the story. This was a story not about the division, but about the people who made that division happen, who made that division successful for 50 years. That is how to tell that story. But you can't do that unless you get to that Lewis, the business leader Lewis, and say, I need a Chris Polizzi. I need a retired employee that you stayed in touch with. I need somebody who just started and they're excited about it. They got somebody in that, they quoted him later on. That is the role of the manager in communications, is to get us those people, those sources. I think we have one more about this. Yeah, a couple more quick slides about this. Tell your managers when you reach out to them, when you develop your beat, when you develop your network, and believe me, the managers will do it. Don't take up a lot of their time, but sell them on the benefits. And that is, hey, you're going to get employee recognition for your employees. Your employees are going to be happy to do this. You're going to get promotion. You're going to get publicity for your division, for your employees. You're going to help spread best practices. You're going to help tie individual employees to the overall goals. Leaders will notice that your people are going to be quoted throughout the employee comms stuff. They're happy to do it as long as you don't take up a lot of their time. But coach them, tell them, I don't want to write about the program or the policy or the products or the procedures. I want to write about the next one, the next slide, which is the 5th P, which is the people. Like you just saw with W.L. Gore. That story was not about the division. It was. The story was all about the division, but they told it through the eyes of the people. That's what your managers can help you do. If you go to the next slide, Kelly, find a person. I've come to loathe October. I used to love October because it's October month. It's beer drinking month. It's what do you call it?
Sweatshirts and fireplaces.
Sweatshirts, fireplaces, beer drinking, drinking beer,
Yeah, you got that.
German fest, all that good stuff.
Smoke wine.
But it's also cybersecurity awareness month, and I see thousands from my clients, from our workshops. They're all the same. They always have the same headline: National Cybersecurity. And it's not a headline, by the way. Headlines need verbs. That is not a headline. And then they repeat the whole thing in the lead. October is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I do encourage awareness. We want everyone to take part and get involved in a competition our information security team is running throughout October. Blah, 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 blah. Forget it. What do? You go to the manager of IT, the manager of IS, IT, whatever you want to call it, and you say, hey, who is somebody that's really passionate about cybersecurity? We want to build a cybersecurity awareness month story around a person. That's what our clients at Rockwell Collins did. If you go to the next slide. And it is the same exact 4-paragraph formula. First paragraph, we're going to meet Brittany. First of all, look at the better headline. This cybersecurity expert lives for thwarting would-be attacks. That's a verb. You should all commit to using the word thwarting in your next story. Lives for thwarting if the passion jumps out of that headline, then you get a fast first sentence. When Brittany Benninghoven comes to work each day, she knows it could be the day she stops another cybersecurity threat and attempts against our people and our company. Paragraph 2 is more information about Benninghoven. Here's who she is. Here's what she does. Paragraph 4 down there is a quote. It's the same formula. Email is a huge threat right now, she explains. And then at the 5th paragraph, you get to what the story's about. October is National Cybersecurity. You don't have to lead with that. Whenever you possibly can, lead with people, and you don't get those people without talking to managers. Your managers are your beat. They are your sources. It's hard. It's easier to get to them than the people that are doing the work. They're on the factory line. They're on the manufacturing line. They're on retail. They're out there on the floor. They're out there with the nurses. They're out there on the halls of the healthcare. They're out there chopping down trees or putting up poles. It's harder to get to them. It's easier to get to the managers and let them know the importance of storytelling. And I think we have one more thing here, a couple more things, but you go to the next slide. I'm gonna turn it over to Cindy for this because this is something Cindy does about 100 focus groups with managers every year through our communication audits. So she knows more about them than a lot of people. So I'll turn this over to Cindy.
Yeah, just a quick tip for any communicators out there. Those of you who know me know that I conduct these focus groups all the time. I've had the pleasure to really get to know managers in almost every single industry. And if you have not conducted an informal focus group in your organization yet, I certainly encourage you to do so. Talking to them and really understanding where they're coming from helps you figure out the best ways to incorporate them into your communication strategy. And every single time I talk to a manager, does not matter industry, company size, they're all say the same thing to me. And when it comes to communications in their head, they're in a different mind space than we are as communicators. And they just think, Cindy, I'm just too damn busy. Like I can't, what do you want me to do? You know, they're all struggling. As Steve said earlier, they are stretched thin now more than ever. So, you know, they really need as much help and guidance from the communication team as possible and a feedback mechanism. It's super important for every communicator here to really have touch points with their manager groups throughout the year to really just ask them point blank, what is working and what's not? Here's what we try to do. What questions are you hearing from your employees? How can we improve our communications to your employee segment group to make sure they're getting the content that they need, to make sure that they feel connected to the organization as a whole?
Can I just say one thing? I'm sorry, Cindy did the slide, and communicate and change should be capitalized to be consistent. That was Cindy's slide.
Right.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Of course. We can move on to the next slide.
My favorite slide.
Yeah.
This is a wild. I didn't realize this till you guys sent this stat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right out of Inc. magazine.
So it's really kind of a crazy, mind-blowing number to get your head around it. And on the flip side of talking to managers, I also get to talk to hundreds of employees, and most of them, when you ask them, where do you go the most to get the most updated content about what's going on in your organization? They will say managers. So it's unbelievably, that disconnect is something that we have to have front in mind in our communication strategy all the time. Whether you use your managers or not, your employees are using them to get content. So the more connected and informed your managers are, the better the content they're receiving. So we've got to make sure that we understand where are they at and how can we continually improve our communications to help them communicate down. Everyone has heard this. At the end of the day, the people quit their managers. You know, this is the connection that employees have. So again, just cannot stress enough the importance of having a way to really talk to them, understand them, get those stories that Steve talked about a little bit earlier, to make sure that you are constantly getting that feedback. And again, we could use a lot of the tools if we can't do them face to face, although I strongly, strongly recommend that. If you can't do it, virtual settings are fine. Sometimes a lot of our communicators get a lot of great feedback just by reading open comments in collaborative spaces like Microsoft Teams or maybe staff-based. Yeah, whatever the case may be, they're going in there, seeing what are the questions that managers are asking, what are they getting, you can sense the tone, of the comments that you're seeing out there. Those are all wonderful ways to kind of collect feedback on an ongoing basis to figure out where you're at.
And this is Cindy and I know this from real life because Crescenzo Communications, the culture is bad. It's a lousy culture. People are overworked and stressed. But because I'm Cindy's manager, she has stayed here for 18 years.
Oh, yeah.
She hates the company, but loves her manager.
That's right.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Totally. So I'm going to kick this back. Oh no, this is a great example. So we were working with our clients over at Bayer, the people who make the aspirin. Again, hearing the same feedback from their managers. Guys, I just need help. Help us figure out what to do. So we kind of looked at all of the materials they use, their channels that they use to help communicate to managers. The content was there, but you really had to read it very top to bottom to really understand what is going on. So we decided to make it a little bit more obvious for them. And we put in this know, do, and share icons throughout. It's a process and it is little visual icons. So you're not supposed to see all these little things highlighted, but that know and do at the top there, anytime we have content that where you want to make sure managers understand, here's what you need to know. And guess what? You do have to do something with your employees. That know and do will show up. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's nothing they need to do, but they need to know what's going on. For example, maybe we're going to address a topic in a town hall for all employees, but we want our managers to know first. So we tell them, here's what's going to be discussed in that town hall. This is just a no. And again, anytime you can literally hit them over the head with this, they appreciate it because it's just, they are busy. So they're just kind of scanning through stuff. And at least now they know they need to go down to the do part and figure out what is it that they're asking me to do and how is it connected to what I need to know? And how do I ask questions if I have it ahead of time?
And when you guys get the PDF of this presentation, you'll see it's like they need to know that several weeks ago, Biden's COVID plan came out. What do they need to do? We're going to share details with your colleagues, your employees later today. So they're putting the managers first, which managers really appreciate.
Yep.
And so what we need you to do is review the resources available. I mean, just brilliant. And then go to the next one.
Steve and Cindy, I remember in our call, you did mention too, like sometimes it's just making the managers in the know, right? Like it's like you shouldn't, you don't need to do anything right now with your employees, but just so like, how embarrassing is it if an employee comes to, told me to ask my manager, and my manager's like, I have no idea. I mean, we've all seen that happen.
Absolutely. It happens all the time.
Yeah,
and they get so resentful, and as they should, around that when, how many times have we added the sentence at the bottom of the story? Have any questions? Ask your manager. They don't have anything more than what we just sent out, right? So what do we want them to do with that? And you've got to put yourself in their shoes.
And when you talk to them, they all say, I'm too busy to communicate, but they're not. You drill down like Cindy does in the focus groups. They're too busy to sort through all the information and figure out what the hell to do with it. So know, do, and share, which is, I think, on the next slide.
And I'm telling you, if you take the time to talk to them, they so appreciate it. I mean, it tells them that they're a part of the communication process. you start to become, Steve said it earlier, and it's really important, and relationships matter. So they start to see this as a partnership as opposed to what's corporate given me today that I have, what do you want me to do? Going out and talking to them is how we establish that and really understand. Here's an example of when they use the share. The previous one, there was nothing to share. They just needed to know and do. Here's something to just share with your employees. A lot of times, if this comes from a town hall with UC Health, we put together, it was not a manager toolkit. Everyone's eyes will roll if you say manager toolkit. I promise you that. But we just gave them, a set of conversation points from the town hall. Here's what everyone's going to hear today at the town hall. Here's what you can incorporate in your next team meeting connected to the town hall.
And here's the questions that are already coming in.
It was fantastic. And that's what managers really do appreciate. They feel like they're part of a team instead of all this lightning bolts getting struck down from corporate. They feel like they're a part of the process. And if you look at this article, this newsletter has very high metrics with Bayer managers. They love it. They like it a lot. They read it. At the end of this article, you're seeing here, we want you to know and share. This was about their big global transformation initiative. You put at the end of that article or the beginning of the article, this is going to managers. Hey, we want to hear about your employees that are making this happen. Absolutely.
We want to hear about the stories of employees that are actually helping push this company through this transformation. Make sure that you're constantly pressuring managers, asking managers to give up their employees. Because you know what? Managers have stories. We've got to find them. And speaking of metrics, you want to talk about, I think?
Yeah, I do have a question in regards to metrics for you both, because I want to switch gears a little bit to the metrics portion. And I know we both have talked about, and you guys have a great example that we'll share in the slides. But for managers who are looking to see, to improve their storytelling skills, how can a data-driven approach through metrics enhance their ability to craft compelling narratives that really resonate with their employees?
Yeah, well, metrics are your tool in your back pocket to make sure, again, we want to be strategic partners with these managers. They're a part of our communication strategy. So just as much as it's important for us to understand what works and what doesn't with our audience segments, it's important for managers to realize it too. So, we often tell our communicator clients, sit down and walk through what metrics should you pay attention to, what actually counts as far as when they send out communications. You're going to help us craft this story for your team, your division. Here's what we're going to look at is what does success mean? And here's how you can help improve those numbers with us. A lot of times as communicators, we don't give ourselves the time to do the follow-up with managers or our internal clients for that matter. We ask for their opinion. We ask for their insights, their stories. We got to turn around then and tell them what worked and what didn't. Here's what happened after we did this story. Here's how we moved the needle. Let me show you before and after. We used to do it this way, but now this is how we do it. And this is what changed and why this works with your audience segments. This way, we're constantly improving the content flow that's coming back to us and really making sure that people are submitting or knowing what works and what doesn't and submitting content to us that we can just put into use right away instead of the constant editing or, horribleness that goes with that.
Kelly, can I show one example of exactly what Cindy's talking about?
Yeah, is it this? I know it's all highlighted, so I'm so sorry. It's all highlighted now.
Yes, I'm sorry that Cindy keeps bringing that up. It's making you feel bad, and I'm sorry about that, but that's Cindy throwing people under the bus. That's what she does.
Yeah, as you can see.
So this is supposed to be a big reveal to the bottom part, but
maybe you highlight too much stuff. You ever think about
it doesn't look like if you're doing it one at a time and they're popping in.
If everything's highlighted, what's important?
So if you look at these two stories, it's from the Mayo Clinic, who are one of the best employee communications shops in the whole world. They are so Hoyt Finor is the head guy over there. They do phenomenal. And you know what? You can see it because they have a blog called In the Loop, which is an external blog where they do patient storytelling, staff storytelling. You want to see how to do corporate storytelling? Write down In the Loop, Mayo Clinic, Google it, and there's some amazing stuff out there. This is from their intranet because they're one of our clients, but he allowed us to show this. This is a great example of what happens, and this is what we have to tell managers. Do you want people to pay attention to values, to whatever it is there is? Then you got to put people in. Because these stories are about people. The one on the right is more of a corporate package. You get values in action, Staff members' commitment to building patient trust demonstrates integrity. That's boring. Every single company in the world has integrity as one of their values. Isn't that sort of a gimme? Don't you kind of have to have integrity before you can do anything else? Well, we all list integrity. And then look at the graphic. It's one of these weird corporate things with boxes and lines and wavy stuff that nobody's going to look at. Then you got the subhead, which is the bold right underneath the graphic, where they exactly repeat what's in the headline. Values in Action is a new series that highlights staff living Mayo's values. Well, and then look at the one on the left. Look at the right away. What do you get? You get a way better headline that involves people. Couple praises colleagues who cared for their infant son and them, but they're both about values. But this one, they did the people. Then you get a great shot of the family. Then the subhead. After Owen Armstrong was born with significant health challenges, his parents, Kathy and Bill, both Mayo Clinic staff members, discover the true meaning of the needs of the patient come first, which is a value. And then the story, I'll let you read it on your own, but it ends with a quote that says, I held Owen and Bill held me. It says, then while his pastor prayed and his family sang lullabies, Owen took his last breath. I held Owen and Bill held me, says Owen's mom, Kathy. They're both about values, but look at the metrics. Look at the traction. 11,000 views versus 1,200, 420. Like they got a bunch of shares. They got a ton of comments came in there. People talking about it. That is what you show your managers. We need your people. We need them. I think there's one more Mayo example.
Yep.
I think Kelly. Yeah. This is great. Already pre-highlighted. Thank you, Kelly.
Amazing.
But this is an even better example because this is the same exact topic. I said the deadly P's, products, procedures, policies, programs. Well, the one on the left is a product story. It's about a new suite of products on the internet that help you report and deal with workplace violence at Mayo. Well, look at the headline, new internet site. That's a product headline. New internet site offers to reduce, report, or found to workplace violence. Then the next thing you get in the packaging is knowing what to do protects you, which is some corporate slogan. I don't know. Then the subhead repeats the headline exactly. There's no people in this entire story on the left. It's all about the products. The story on the right, and you have to do both these. Maybe the one on the left is announcing it, but then you go to people. You go to managers and say, has anybody used those tools yet? I want to write about the people. And those managers can give you people like this nurse. Because look at that headline. Again, it's about a product story versus a people story. This woman used the products on the left to report violence and save the life, maybe. Mayo Clinic's progress speaks out against workplace violence, inspires, that's a great verb, inspires nurse to speak out. Then you get a great picture of a nurse. Then you get a great subhead. If you read it, I can't read it because it's small, but it talks about her harrowing experience. In my writing classes, I always say, chase down your adjectives and kill them. Get rid of all your adjectives. You're world class, you're innovative, they're all garbage. But harrowing, I would keep harrowing. And then the story itself, which you can read, is all about how she used these tools to maybe save somebody's life. This young nurse was really having a problem with it. I mean, it's so powerful. And of course, they link back to the tools. And look at the metrics again. 9,000 views, 153 likes, 30 comments versus barely nothing on the left side. If you track the metrics, you will see that stories that involve people, which is storytelling at its best, are the ones that will draw people and the ones that will make a difference. And you know what? The managers have those stories. We need to develop relationships with the managers. And I think that might be our last one. Or one more, maybe,
No, I think
that was all I had.
That was it. Okay, well.
Perfect timing, though. I mean, I think the metrics speak for themselves. Those cases you guys shown are pretty amazing and pretty astonishing. I mean, 1,000 to 9,000 engagement is the proof is in the pudding. We do have a few minutes, so I want to open the floor if you have any questions for Cindy and Steve. I'm always just so every time you guys talk, I'm just so engaged. So I know it's a lot of information, and we'll get the recording to you and the PDF to you as well. But if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. We want to make sure we can answer it. The wonderful Nina, my colleague, will be posting in the chat LinkedIn for Steve, for Cindy, and for myself. So you could connect that way if you have a question later on. And she'll also throw in Crescenzo's communications website, so you can check that out as well.
I'm sorry, Kelly, we have a couple of free events. We have a free webinar coming up. Cindy's going to do it on surveys, how to craft the right survey, how
Talking a
to
lot about measurement in the next
measurement, how to do quick polls, things like that, pulse surveys. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
coming up free. And then we got some other paid events coming up. So check us out on our website.
Yes, please do. I mean, I'm definitely going to check it out. I know I have I guess a backup question, just that I was wondering, and I feel selfish taking up everyone's time, but now I'm like, I'm wondering, is there any, we talk about everything that managers and communicators should do. What are the three most common mistakes that managers often make in their communication, and what strategies can they use to try to avoid them?
I think first I'll start with the mistake that communications people make. The people on this call, they give them too much stuff. They give them like it's communication toolkits, communication toolboxes with PowerPoint and video. The more you give managers, the less they do with it. They want bullet points. They want no do share. They want it fast. So I think that newsletter that we did, that Bayer does, those articles are short, but they're loaded with stuff. You get rid of all the corporate claptrap, give it to them straight. So that's the one mistake they make. I think the mistake managers make, and Cindy can weigh in on this as well, but I think one of the biggest mistakes they make is to assume the employees know what they know.
Yeah.
They do it all the time because they're living and breathing this stuff. We saw that at our recent reorg that we did with healthcare. The managers were more plugged in and they knew what was going on, and until we started working with them to say, you need to get this information out. If you don't have a no do share newsletter, you still got to work with managers to get that information out. They tend to assume that everybody knows what they know. And I think that's a huge problem. And they need us to educate them about that.
Absolutely. I call that the communication illusion. And it is the fact that you think you sent it in an email and I communicated it. And we cannot stop there. Do people understand it? Are they doing anything they're supposed to do because of it? That's where we have to do. That's why the metrics are so important to constantly communicate with your managers there. I love Shauna's question over here because
I just saw that. Let me see if I can screenshot it.
Yeah. So Shauna asked, how do you translate storytelling for frontline employees who have less than 5 minutes per day to read all emails? Totally feel that pain. We have to jump right to the point without much setup and storytelling. Steve has the most awesome, effective rating formula to quickly get things out that people need to pay attention to. I set you up. There's my highlight. Highlight his face.
I just think it's, what, so what, now what? What do they need to know? Why should they care? What do you want them to do? I mean, managers love that formula. What is it your employees need to know? Why should they care? And what do you want them to do? I built a entire management newsletter.